On Friday, the US government officially banned an AI system and labeled its creator a national security threat. But here's the thing. By Saturday morning, that same banned AI was reportedly running inside classified military networks during a live strike on Iran. Today, we're breaking down exactly how 48 hours rewired the entire AI industry, and why it matters for every single person watching this. On February 27, 2026, President Trump issued an executive order directing all federal agencies to immediately stop using Anthropic's AI systems. That same day, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth escalated it by officially designating Anthropic a supply chain risk, a label that doesn't just suggest caution, it actively blacklists a company from defense contracts and forces vendors to remove its models from their systems. That is an extraordinary move. You don't just casually label a Silicon Valley AI lab a national security threat unless something went seriously wrong or seriously political. According to the New York Times and The Atlantic, Pentagon officials had been in months of negotiations with Anthropic over a major defense AI contract. And those talks collapsed, not because Anthropic's technology failed, but because of what Anthropic refused to agree to. Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, was reportedly asked to loosen the company's restrictions on mass surveillance capabilities and autonomous weapons systems, AI that could potentially make lethal targeting decisions without a human in the loop. Anthropic said no. And in Washington, saying no to the Pentagon doesn't just lose you a contract. Apparently, it can get you labeled a national security risk overnight. This isn't just corporate drama. This is the first time we've seen the US government use the language of national security to punish an AI company for holding ethical boundaries. Think about what that precedent sets. If refusing to enable mass surveillance or autonomous weapons gets you blacklisted, what does that say about what the government actually wants from its AI partners? This is a template, and if it works on Anthropic today, it sends a chilling message to every AI lab watching from the sidelines. But the story doesn't end with a ban. Because while that order was being signed, something absolutely wild was already happening on the other side of the world, and Claude was right in the middle of it. Within hours of Trump's ban order, the Wall Street Journal, Axios, and the Washington Post all reported that the US military, specifically CENTCOM, was using Anthropic's Claude AI during joint US-Israeli strikes on Iran. We're talking intelligence assessments, OSINT analysis, and target evaluation, reportedly powered in part by Claude, running inside Palantir's Maven smart system on Amazon's classified cloud infrastructure. Banned, actively deployed. At the same time, this contradiction isn't an accident, it's a structural reality of how deeply embedded AI systems have become inside defense networks. Removing an AI model from classified military infrastructure is not like deleting an app from your phone. It takes months of reintegration work, retraining, and system audits. The ban said, stop using it. The infrastructure said, we literally can't, not tonight. Claude had been deeply woven into Palantir's Maven smart system, a platform already operating on Amazon's classified cloud. That's layers of integration. Now, here's where it gets even more complicated. Some defenders of the situation will tell you this was just bureaucratic lag. But the political argument cuts in a completely different direction. If the administration knew full well that Claude couldn't actually be removed in 24 hours, then the ban wasn't about operational security. It was a message, a public punishment, a signal to the tech industry about who's in charge. So Anthropic is out, publicly, politically, and loudly. That created an enormous vacuum inside the Pentagon. And you will not believe how fast that vacuum got filled. Almost immediately after Anthropic's blacklisting, OpenAI announced it would take their place inside the Pentagon. The deal included access to classified networks and covered a range of military AI use cases. But OpenAI did something unusual. They publicly posted portions of the contract, outlining what they called red lines. Sam Altman himself acknowledged what he called the bad optics of the deal, a rare moment of corporate self-awareness. He argued the contract included more guardrails than any previous classified AI deployment in history. But critics weren't satisfied. The contract's framing of all lawful use raised immediate alarms. Because lawful, in a defense context, can mean a lot of things that might look very different to a civil liberties lawyer than to a military strategist. Is it better to have an AI company at the table, with guardrails? Or does taking the contract at all cross a line that can't be uncrossed? By Saturday evening, something no one saw coming had already happened. Anthropic's Claude app shot to the #1 position on the US App Store. It overtook ChatGPT. It overtook Google Gemini. Thousands of users were publicly canceling ChatGPT subscriptions and posting screenshots. In a 48-hour window, a political decision triggered a measurable consumer market response. This is the new reality of the AI industry. Your values as a company are now a product feature. Anthropic's refusal to loosen ethical guardrails, the very thing that got it banned by the Pentagon, became the thing that drove 1 million downloads in a weekend. For OpenAI's investors and leadership, that's a wake-up call. For Anthropic's backers, that download spike is data they are studying very carefully. We're entering an era where the AI wars aren't just fought in boardrooms or on Capitol Hill. They're fought on app charts, on social feeds, and in subscription cancellations. Consumer sentiment can now move the needle on billion-dollar corporate decisions in real time. That's actually unprecedented, and it's the most hopeful part of this entire story, because it means ordinary people have a seat at the table. So let's zoom out, because when you put all 4 of these events together, the ban, the deployment, the replacement, and the revolt, you're not just looking at a week of news. You're looking at a blueprint for how geopolitics and AI are going to collide for the next decade. What happened in this 48-hour window is the clearest preview we've ever had of what AI governance is going to look like. Here's what we now know for certain. First, AI is so deeply integrated into critical infrastructure that government bans can be politically immediate but operationally meaningless. Second, AI companies are now geopolitical actors, whether they want to be or not. The moment you're big enough to matter to defense, you're inside the chess game. Third, consumers have real power in this ecosystem, more than they've ever had in previous tech eras, because switching costs are almost zero and public sentiment moves markets in hours. Fourth, the ethical red lines companies draw today will define not just their brand, but their legal and operational future in ways that no one fully understands yet. There's a question that no one in Washington, Silicon Valley, or on any panel is willing to answer cleanly: what level of AI autonomy in warfare is acceptable, and who gets to decide? Right now, the answer is being decided through contract negotiations between AI labs and the Department of Defense. There is no public law, no international treaty, no democratic vote. The people setting the red lines are the CEOs of private companies, and the governments that can punish or reward them. That should make every single person watching this uncomfortable, because the decisions being made right now will determine how much AI is involved in the next armed conflict. And the one after that. But here's what's actually new: Anthropic held a line. The public responded. The market moved. That feedback loop, ethics to backlash to market pressure, is the most powerful lever that ordinary people have in the AI age. And for the first time, we saw it work at scale, in real time, over a weekend. That doesn't fix everything, but it means the conversation isn't closed. The AI you use isn't just a productivity tool anymore, it's a political choice, a value statement, and a market signal all at once. You asked who controls your AI. This week showed you the answer is still being negotiated, and that you're part of that negotiation. The most powerful people in the AI age might be the millions of users deciding every single day which AI gets their trust. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment.